This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Cliff Yates Show, and I'm sure you already know you are in the right place. And today, humor is your superpower, and if it isn't already, I'm going to teach you today how you can become more aware of your humor superpower. You can start to use it in everything that you do and everywhere that you go. Humor is the superpower, and I know you've seen it already in practice, in daily life. You've talked about it. You've been somewhere. You've been with other people, and you've said, what is she doing with him? Why is that beautiful woman with that guy? Does he have a lot of money? And you've heard it many times. You've seen it on TV. You've heard it in movies, and you've heard beautiful women say, he makes me laugh. That's the superpower. Bring humor to any situation in the appropriate way, and you have a superpower, and you will be shocked and surprised at the unlimited power you will possess if you start using humor as your superpower. Sometimes it's in the darkest hours. It's called sometimes dark humor. Sometimes when we're in situations that can be filled with the most grief and despair, it's always refreshing that someone brings a little humor to that situation, right? Have you ever seen it? I've seen it in funerals. We've been at funerals and someone will, and we're all remembering the person that's no longer with us, that's going to be gone forever. And it's a very solemn time. And then someone, in giving their talk or their speech or their memorial to this person, will bring up a situation in the past, a memory of that person that was either them showing humor or them in a humorous situation, and people will laugh because it's really taking them to a different time. We're in a current time of sadness and grief, and we're remembering this person that we're losing, we've lost, and it can be such a feeling of sadness and despair. And then someone will bring up, hey, this is my experience with that person. This is what I remember. And then everyone there, whether they were there during that situation or are familiar with it, they'll be taken back in time. You'll be time traveled back when this person either was involved in a humorous situation or they brought humor to something or just something they did that thinking back on it now and bringing it to this current situation makes everyone laugh. And everyone is thirsty and thriving because someone has brought some comic relief to this situation, right? And that's why we call it a comic relief. It's a relief that now tension is broken, and it's broken with humor. And you can use that in every situation, every business experience, every meeting that you go to, every appointment that you're in. You can have this superpower of humor if you'll just start looking for it in every situation that you become involved in. Start looking for the humor because it's there. And in today's society, it's becoming more and more prominent that the situation itself is the humor. We find ourselves in an upside down world, right? Where usually humor is, this is how comedians come up with humor. They take a real situation or a truth, and then they bend that situation, they flip it, right? They turn it, they look at it from a different point of view, and that brings humor to the situation because the normalness is broken, right? It's the slip on the banana peel that makes everybody laugh. It's the shockingness of the situation. And in today's world, you don't have to look too hard for the humor, right? So normally, comedians take a truthful situation, flip it upside down, turn it, change it drastically in an abrupt way, and we laugh about it. What do we have today? You don't even have to make it up, right? If we're a comedian, we're going to say, what would happen if guys could say they were girls and then they could compete in women's sports? Oh, that's really happening. So that's truth. You don't have to look too hard for the comedy. The comedy is there right in front of us. And this is one of those situations that's happening in our society, in our culture, that's very serious, very dour, can be very dark. And you can bring humor to it just by calling attention to it, just by calling to it. Now, you can't teach naturally funny. Some people are naturally funny. They were born that way. They have natural humor. You can't teach that. You're born with that natural funniness. However, you do have tools. You have skills that you have naturally, and you can bring those to a situation and learn to create or look for, find, and mine comedy with the use of your skills that you naturally possess. So you can still harness that. So you can take those natural skills that you were born with, combine them with mining opportunities for humor. And so in that regard, you can start to employ your own superpower. You can take those natural skills and knowledge that you already possess, and you can start mining for comedy in every situation, and you can employ your humor superpower. You can do it. Even though maybe natural humor is not something you were born with, you were born with other natural skills, and you can employ those skills in a combination of mining for the comedy that is in every situation, if we will just look for it. And that's what comedians do. And that's why they can find comedy in every situation that they're in. Comedians will take what they are doing, learning, and experience when they're age 40, and they're bringing that to their comedy set. They turn 50, and those things that are happening as they're 50 and their experience with other people in that age, and they bring that to everybody. So they're calling the situation that they're in and experiencing, and they're bringing humor to that truth. And that's something that you can do. And you can start practicing that today. You can take that in every situation today. I don't care if it's just going to the dentist office and bringing that to the dentist reception desk. Can you imagine everybody that's going to the dentist is bringing with them an aura, a feeling of fear, anticipation of the negative, feeling that I'm about to experience pain, and you can see it on their faces. Can you imagine if you brought a little bit of levity to that situation, to that brief encounter with the person at the reception desk, how welcoming that would be? And maybe you've already experienced that. My mom does that. My mom does that when she goes to the doctor's office, right? She makes the people laugh. Not only that are in the room with her, hearing her talk to the person at the reception desk, everywhere she goes, she brings this aura of levity, good humor, and people are really thirsty for it. And they always come, we just can't wait for you to come back to our office, and because you make us laugh. Just like in the relationship situation, right? What's she doing with him? Well, he makes her laugh. You make people laugh, and you're going to be able to employ the humor superpower. And it is a superpower that can be used in every situation, business, family, any relationship that you are encountering. Use it today. And if you don't know how, I'm going to give you some tips right now. One of the skills that comedians use, and to their advantage in every situation, before, during, after, in anticipation of a comedy routine, is they're very conscious of the room. They read the room. If you've heard read the room, they failed to read the room to what was actually going on. So comedians are very good at reading what's happening right now before they even go on the stage. They're reading people. They may have watched the people in the audience before they went on, when the previous performer or the master of ceremonies was on the stage before them. They're watching as to what's happening around, what's on the walls. What about the chairs they're sitting? They're very conscious of the situation, very detailed, and seeing who is here. What are there different people here from? Do these people all work at the same place? Are they all in the same culture? Who are the power players in the room? If I can know that, they're very conscious of reading the room and taking any information that's available to them and learning so that they can use it. So you can be more conscious of what's happening in a situation around you. Whatever situation you walk into, whether it's family, friends, get together, a business meeting, be very conscious of what's happening, who is there, and take that information and read it. When I think about my good friend and my comedy mentor, Mike Marino, this is one of the lessons he taught me, and he does every single time he performs, is he reads the room before he goes on the stage, and then what he does is he reads the room to the people as he gets on the stage, because he knows that everything that he has seen, everybody in the audience is seeing, and they are thinking what he's thinking, and now he just brings it out. And because he's brought out exactly what they're thinking, as if he's mind reading, he's bringing out what they're thinking, what they're saying to themselves about what they've seen. Now he's verbalizing that, and they relate to it immediately, and they laugh because of the relationship. Yeah, I'm seeing that too. And so he could be playing. He could be playing a room, and he could be in a banquet hall that's maybe has a lot of very old things on the wall, and he'll make note to that. Or maybe he's on his stage is a wooden riser. He might get on that stage and say, "Hey, I want to thank my sponsor, Home Depot, for providing the stage, piece of wood." And people laugh because that they're seeing what's happening right then. So he's calling the room to the people he's with. Could you employ that? You can employ that in a meeting. You can employ that with a group of friends. Call what's happening just by calling attention to what everybody is already seeing and thinking. People relate to it. It's funny just bringing everyone's attention to what everybody is seeing. So it's calling the room and calling it out loud. And that's a way of noticing and bringing humor to any situation. Take the lesson from the comedians who read the room and call the room. Before you go into any situation, or as you're entering into any situation, get rid of assumptions. Kill your assumptions. Reverse them. Get rid of assumptions before you go into any situation in front of any group of people. Are about to enter any situation. Our natural tendency is to have assumptions that this is going to be negative, right? And we were wired that way from the time we were primal human beings, right? That it helped us survive to think, hey, everyone is about to kill us. These animals want to eat us. That kept us alive. But in today's culture and society, that is not healthy, to go into every situation thinking, these people are going to hate me. They're not going to like me. We need to not only cancel out those assumptions, we need to reverse them. Reverse it to the positive. Comedians do this. If they're smart, they go into a situation. These people are going to love me. Wait till Mike Marino, as he used to always tell me, I'm going to tear this room apart. These people are going to be, I'm going to leave them on the ground. They are going to love what I'm about to feed to them. This group of people is going to love this stuff. He always went with a positive assumption. So cancel, reverse negative assumptions about a crowd, a group of people, a situation that you're about to enter. These people aren't going to like me. They're going to hate me. I know I had to do that when I was first doing comedy and I was writing my routines, and my teacher would tell me, no, you got to tell the truth. You have a real life. Because I didn't want to go up on stage and tell people that I was a cop, I'm a police officer. And she says, no, you need to bring attention to that because that is unique. How many people come up in a comedy club on stage and say they're a cop, and people are actually going to be able to hear what a cop has to say and laugh at what he has to say, or laugh at him or with him? Not very often. And so she said, this is going to be part of your uniqueness, is to bring attention to this truth. And so I was very hesitant to want to do that. And especially when I was first going up at certain comedy clubs, there was a time when the tensions between the community in Los Angeles, where I was working, and the police culture and profession was very tense. I remember I was performing comedy during the Rodney King trials, the Rodney King riots, and I would have pre-assumptions. These people, just what I was talking about, these people are not going to like me. They're going to hate me. How can I go up on this stage? Hi, I'm a cop. I'm not a very good cop. I have a sense of humor. People are not going to like me. I was going with that assumption. And even though I was, for a while, entering those situations in those comedy clubs and those audiences with that pre-assumption, these people are going to hate me. Based on what's going on, what's in the news today, this is not going to go well. In every situation, it went well. I never had a problem as long as I did my job, grabbed the audience, right, with my beginning, and then I hit him with my middle, Everything's a story, beginning, middle, end. We get on that stage. Hey, listen, this is my story. Let me start it. Grab attention. Oh, let me hear more. Give them that middle part of the story, the end. You know what? This is what I came to tell you. You heard this. See you later. And so I never had hecklers. I never had a negative situation. So then I was able to turn it around through experience. I didn't have, at the time, have the wisdom of knowing don't go in with negative presuppositions, with negative assumptions. But I did learn that over time. Hey, I went in with a negative assumption that never even happened. It all has to do with worry. Why worry? Was it Mark Twain who said, you know what? I worried about a lot of things, and some of them's actually happened. Why worry about something that hasn't even happened yet? And so I was almost creating a situation as a self-fulfilling prophecy by doing that. But through experience, I learned that wasn't reality. And so kill presuppositions, kill assumptions, go in and reverse those with positive assumptions. These people are going to like me. You know what? They're probably going to love me because there's a lot to love here. Bring humor into it. It's a superpower. You can have it. It's available to you and everybody else. There's not a limited supply of humor superpower. I'm telling you, start to use it if you haven't already. And if you do, take it to the next level. And people are always saying, hey, you know what? This is a tense situation. We need somebody. We need to break the ice. We got to break the ice on this. Even in the description of situations, right? It's described as something cold, frozen. We need to break it, break the ice. Listen, we shouldn't go with those assumptions that it's going to be a cold room. It's going to be a cold reception. No, we need to reverse that into it's going to be a warm room. This is going to be a loving room that's going to take me in with open arms. Humor, superpower. It's for you. As a kid in high school, I used humor to overcome anxiety, fear, right? Self-consciousness. I had a inferiority complex, so I used humor to do that. I wanted to be involved in sports. I wanted to be on the football team. I wanted to be on the basketball team, to hang out with my group, with my fellas. I wanted to be involved in this society here. That seemed like a lot of fun, and my natural abilities would not allow me to do that. I couldn't make the football team. I couldn't make the basketball team as hard as I worked and tried. Those weren't the natural abilities. What did I use? I used humor. And so here I wanted to be involved in these sports, be on these teams, to be accepted, to hang around people. And then I started using comedy, and then because that was a natural skill, and then something that I worked on and honed as a skill, not just a natural ability, combining those two creates a humor superpower. And then all of a sudden, people were hanging out with me. People wanted to hang around with me because I made them laugh. Didn't matter what group, the jocks, the druggies, the outcast, the dark people, anybody. Humor is the superpower that would bring everybody together or allow me to be involved in every group. Even though this group might not associate with that group, or that group might not have mixed with this group, I could mix with all those groups because of humor. Not sacrificing who I was, not going into... Some people can get involved and be accepted by groups, right? I can act in this group, I can act in this group, but they're acting. It's fake, it's not real, it's not authentic. But in an authentic way, you can be involved in different aspects of culture because you bring your humor superpower to that situation while not sacrificing the truth in who you are. Another way to really wield your humor superpower is to learn what comedians learn, and that's the power of gestures, right? And even in communication, it says communication is about 70% visual, what we're doing, body language, right? How we're acting, and maybe 30% of what we're saying. So in an era where you're doing stand-up comedy, right? It's a lot of verbal. So how do you bring that in when you're trying to communicate? Because people are really catching your communication through your gestures, body language. And I was reminded, and a lot of what I've got from this Humor Superpower Masterclass that I'm giving you is I got it from masterclass.com, which I pay for because I'm able to take masterclasses from people who are teaching certain skills, whether it's writing, speaking, comedy, acting, producing, filmmaking, photography. Go to masterclass.com. You'll see what I'm talking about. And Kevin Hart gives a masterclass on comedy and bringing comedy to every situation. So I got a lot of my ideas from that masterclass, and it was already paired with things that I've already done, things that I've already thought about, things that I've already talked about, but maybe I haven't shared with you. And today I'm doing it because I get excited about the ability that all of us have to employ humor as a superpower. And that's why I wanted to share what I learned with you today. So Kevin Hart, he uses a lot of gestures. When he's doing comedy, he's pointing. And a lot of times when you're a stand-up comedian, you will relate to one person or three people in the audience. You'll pick one person over there that you can have eye contact with. It's hard to see people, right? When you're on the stage, you might only see the first two rows, but you can connect with someone. Even though it looks like you're just looking out in the audience, you're connecting with someone real or imaginary, one person you're talking to, even though there's 10,000. That's why a speaker, a performer, a comedian can be on a stage with 5 people or 10,000 people being relaxed, can be themselves because they're really just talking to one person. Doesn't matter, there's 10,000 people in those seats. They're really talking to the one person. And so we do that as comedians, and sometimes we'll do that with 3 people, right? So that we're changing how we look at the room. We're looking over here, we're looking at the center, and everybody in those sections thinks we're talking to them personally. That's how we're able to connect. Although to us, the comedian and or performer, we're looking at one person, and we're usually connecting with someone. And we'll even do that with gestures. We'll point. You know what I'm talking about. If you've been pulled over by the cops, you ever seen that police officer approach you like they're constipated? They got that constipated look on their face. So when you're telling that person, you know what I'm talking about, and you're pointing, you specifically are actually connecting with one person. Everybody in that crowd thinks you're talking to them personally. So you can use those skills yourself. So you need to, be conscious of your gestures and how you're talking to people, and you're saying things and really mirroring gestures as you talk with them. And maybe you're employing that NLP tool of mirroring, matching people's gestures. And maybe you're doing other things. You don't know how much I think of you. My heart really goes out to you. And so use gestures, use body language, not only in your communication to other people, but as you're reading people, be conscious of their gestures. Be conscious that they have one foot out the door. Maybe call attention to that. Or maybe be aware. And part of reading the room is reading people individually. And so that's a skill that you, to a certain extent, just from growing up as a human, you have a degree of skill in that ability to read other people. But you can become more conscious of it, and you can start to employ it more, and you can practice it everywhere you go. Everything you do and everywhere you go, specifically when you walk out the door of your house, when you go into a store, and be more conscious. As we talked, I talked in an earlier episode about, street survival tactics that we can practice and learn. This is part of it, right? Being aware of what's happening, scanning, just reading people's body language can not only keep us alive, it just helps you in your communication with other people. This is a skill that you can crank up to the next level. Combine it with your humor superpower to be a better communicator and be more effective in all your communications and just your interaction with people. You can make it more fun. And isn't that one of the goals that we need to have every day? More fun in a positive way, positively impacting others. Now, Kevin Hart tells a story, which I never heard before. In his master class, he tells the story of when he was I didn't even know he was a salesperson in a shoe store. Now, he talked about how he knew everything about that He knew everything about every shoe in that store. He knew when those shoes came out. He knew the history behind those shoes. And listen, it was a grind, but he knew his product, and he started to excel not because of the skill that he had in the product, but because he combined that skill with humor. He noticed that, hey, man, when he started combining a little bit of humor with his knowledge of his product and talking to people, people bought from him. Other salesperson was like, hey, don't let Kevin, don't let that person, because Kevin had a philosophy. He had a goal. His goal was, this person is not leaving this store without buying a shoe. They're going to buy a pair of sneakers. They're going to buy a pair of shoes when I get done with them. Because you know what? I've had to walk up and down those stairs 27 times, bringing shoes out to show this person. I'm not letting them leave empty-handed. And let's face it, they came in to buy. So you're really not selling. You're helping people buy. And that was his philosophy. And he took that to his comedy, his acting, everything in business that he's involved in today. And he has multiple streams of income. And that's because he's taking these skills that he's combined with his comedy, and he brings it to everything and everywhere he goes. So he used that in the shoe store. So in other words, he would just call the truth of the situation, right? Hey, you're not going to listen. Hey, you're buying these shoes, right? I'm not going to make another trip down those stairs. That's 27 times. If I got to run down these stairs one more time, you're buying a pair of shoes, right? And people would laugh about that, and they felt probably a little bit obligated to buy a pair of shoes from him. So he employed. So take your natural skills that you have, or you developed, or you learned, your knowledge in whatever industry, culture, society, business, employment you're in, marry that with your humor superpower in mining that humor wherever it is, or bringing it forth in others, calling the situation, calling the room, calling, verbally saying, this is what we're all seeing, creating the humor, breaking the ice, right? And you're going to be so successful by marrying the two. Not good enough to have it alone. We've all known people, right? They're humorous, they're fun to be around, but in business, they bring no skills, zero. So they may be fun to hang out with after work, but as far as them excelling anywhere else, or you bringing them up with you anywhere else in the business, not going to happen, because they're bringing zero skills with that humor. So we need to marry those two. That's what's going to create the humor superpower. You've got to have two handles to the humor superpower. There's got to be the skills, knowledge, and then the humor. You marry the two, that's what makes it a superpower. It's got to have both handles, right? You see it. I'm currently watching some old episodes of Survivor, which is it's like a business school for learning how people interact with each other, right? Backstab each other, and they eliminate people, even though the people they eliminate are the ones who are going to vote for them to get $1 million, right? And you'll see people that are brought along. Sometimes in Survivor, they will bring people along because of the fact they have no skills. Now, if you have no skills to help in winning challenges, and then you're very annoying, you're a negative influence on the group, people will vote those people out immediately. But if you maybe you don't bring any skills to the table, maybe you are not a threat, you're not threatening to the group and winning, people will still bring you along, because you know what, you're fun to be around, right? You're fun to be around. You bring positivity to the situation, so for a while they'll bring you along. But if you could combine that with some skills, some social skills, you work hard around the camp, people really bring you along until you're a big threat, and then they want to eliminate you. And that's where your skill and knowledge combined with humor gets you to the end. And everybody that you voted out is going to vote for you to get the $1 million. Why? Because people will not remember what you said, and maybe not even what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. I've done numerous comedy routines, and people said, man, I was telling my friend about you, and we had such a great time. That was the greatest comedy show that I've seen in years. And they asked me to tell them some of your jokes. You know what? I couldn't think of one. I only just remembered that I laughed. This is part of the secret of the humor superpower, is how you make people feel. That's what people remember. I don't remember what he said, but I do remember how they made me feel. And when you leave life, people are going to remember how you made them feel. Make your humor superpower part of your legacy. In my job on the LA Sheriff's Department, I've talked about this before, when I decided that I wanted to promote to the next level, and people gave me advice, well, you've worked in these areas and now you really need a job in administration. You need a job in like personnel. You need like an executive division job, because that's where you will develop the relationships with the people who can do things for you, and people want that in your resume before you're picked, right, to for promotion. Even though you passed the test, you passed the oral, you have all the qualifications, they're going to look to the resume, your resume, just like we talked about in Survivor. Before people vote the $1 million, they look at your resume as to how you won challenges, how you made big moves in the game. You need that part of your resume. So part of the resume to get promoted in the LA Sheriff's Department was to have experience in this executive division. And so I applied for some of these jobs, and I didn't get those jobs. But I learned a little bit of wisdom along the way, and I just went quietly away and just started thinking of how I could get one of those jobs. Because the couple of times that I got passed over, I had positive feedback. You did well, your interview was well, but this person got hired because of this. And so I kept at it. And about a year after I had applied for one of these jobs, the job called me. And they said, hey, you had applied at one time to this position. Would you like to be, we're considering you for this position as it related to this division in the executive division. And you might be interested in it, and we're holding interviews. And so I went for the interview, and I got the job. And the reason why they contacted me and I got the job was because skill combined with humor superpower. And this is how it was. This division was the equity training unit, and they were training or implementing a court-mandated sexual harassment policy within the department. And for a time, they had professional consultants teaching the department this policy with an oversight by the court. And now we were transitioning to our own people teaching this. However, there was extreme pushback and a lot of stress involved in teaching this because it was being forced on the department by the court, by a court order from a lawsuit. People were very adamant and resistant to it. And so they were looking for people that obviously this was going to be taught in a classroom type situation, but interactive, so that you would be facilitating the learning, a lot of interacting with the people who were in the class. So they needed people that could stand up in front of people, and they had seen me performing at department events, so they knew I could talk right in front of people. I could communicate. They remembered gestures, communication, combined with humor. And they knew, hey, Cliff probably has had some tough. They even said to me, well, we figured you probably have been in comedy clubs. You probably had tough audiences, maybe hecklers, and there's going to be a lot of pushback on this policy. And so we're looking for people who are going to be able to teach this and interact with the students and be able to handle the tough crowd. So handling a tough crowd was one of the skills they were looking for, combined with humor. So my comedy, combined with certain skills that I had in public speaking, was what they were looking for in this job. And so that's an example that I give to you how my humor superpower came to help me in getting eventually promoted to the next rank. So start employing this superpower. It's like being Superman. I'm telling you, there is no limit to the heights you can achieve in any situation. When you're talking about business, when you're talking about excelling, when you're talking about entrepreneurship and getting ahead and, making your millions, they always talk about the people you hang around. You're going to be a reflection of the 5 closest people you hang around. And that is so true. And I found that out even in the comedy world, that I hung around with some really high achievers in the comedy world who were willing to share with me, hey, this is what you need to be doing. You should be doing this. And then you watch those people and how they are such high achievers in their field and what you can learn and glean from that. And one of those things that I gleaned from not only seeing that and being involved in that and then learning from different leadership gurus, books, and seminars is that it's so true that the people that we hang around is important. And there's another level to that. So I want you to start thinking about this as you start to employ your humor superpower, and especially in the people that you hang around. You want to have really 3 groups of people that you hang around. People that are on your level that you can relate to and share things you're learning and you can learn from them. People on your level. And then you also want to have that segment of people that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks ahead of you. People that are above you. If you can hang around those people that are where you are going or you want to go, those people you want to hang around as much as you can and glean as much as you can from them, because it's going to propel you. It's going to pull you to the next level. But you also have a third group. You want to be hanging around to a certain extent for a certain time around people who are a click or 2 below you, so that you can reach back always to bring people up, so that you can help that next person get to that next level. And if you do that, that's really going to lead not only to you excelling in your achievement, it's going to give you life fulfillment. You find a lot of people now who are getting to the point where they've lived, they've excelled, they're high achievers, and now part of their work ethic is in sharing that information, that learning with other people, bringing those people up, having a positive impact on others to try to bring those people in, share skills, knowledge, and motivation so that they can go off and then they can have their own achievements. And that's what I'm doing with you today, because I know you're a high achiever. I know you're going to the next level. And Kevin Hart was talking about something in that master class, and it really resonated with me, and I'm going to share that with you today because it really is part of my philosophy and my thinking. Kevin Hart says, and I agree with this, and I've heard this from several different people, right? If you've gotten to the end of a mission, a career, a business, and that's it, you're done. Hey, that's you. Live your life. All respect for you. My hat's off to you. Or, on the other hand, you've reached the end of whatever this is, this career, this mission, this job, this position, and now, hey, what's next? If you're one of those people, which I am one of those people, okay, I've done this. This is great. I look back. I take time, right? And I take time to appreciate and celebrate. And now what's next? Looking forward. Get out of bed today with a lot of excitement, a lot of energy looking forward. I love getting up, start working on what I'm working on right now for the future. That's excitement. That's going to juice you up, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm sharing these things with you. Hey, listen, if you really enjoyed this episode and you think somebody else might get something out of it, please share this with them. And if you're listening and or watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell next to the subscribe button, then you're going to get notified when the next video comes out. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, subscribe to the channel. Share with other people that you might think could benefit from this. Because you know what it does? It tells the computer. This is how these computers and these algorithms work. It tells them people that are interacting with the show. They're liking, they're commenting, they're subscribing. You know what they do? They share these videos, they share these podcast episodes with other people who are looking for similar content. All right. I hope you start today employing your humor superpower, because that's exactly what it is. Until the next episode, I'm Cliff Yates. You know I love you.